There are several ways to make carnivore ice cream. My favorite is to use cottage cheese. And the brand that I use is Good Culture. One of the reasons I use this is that it's the only cottage cheese I'm aware of that has a 6% fat version. Most full-fat cottage cheese is 4% fat. And this particular brand has 6%. It's organic. It comes from cows from small family farms, and it's just generally a great product. So I like the 6%, get that extra creamy taste to it. The other two primary ingredients in this recipe is cocoa powder and peanut butter. We're going to make peanut butter cup carnivore ice cream. So these are the main ingredients. The other items are kind of optional. So I'm going to start with these and then I'll get into some of the things that I usually add. I use a food processor because it has enough power to do this. I've tried it with my NutriBullet and it can get through it, but it has a really difficult time. And I have to ultimately water it down with milk to make it thin enough for the bullet to do the job. So I'm going to start off with 1 16-ounce container cottage cheese and just put it in the food processor. And one thing I like about this is it's really quick and easy, and I like the end result. It does a really nice job. And overall, it's a very easy thing to do that I can do in a few minutes. So usually, I like to mix up this first batch just to get things going and put a little less strain on the food processor. So I'm just going to turn it. So I just get it to kind of a nice paste. And then I usually add a little bit of half and half or cream. Again, just to make a consistency a little easier to mix. And I don't measure that, I just pour some in. Add some vanilla. And again, I don't measure, I just kind of eyeball it. And I add stevia to sweeten it. And I'm going to use roughly the equivalent of about a cup of sugar. And usually add a little salt. This is pink salt. And I just add maybe a half a teaspoon. The next ingredient is 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. This is organic, non-sweetened. It's plain cocoa powder. And I will put links to everything I use in the description below, as well as the recipe for this. Okay, so the last critical ingredient is peanut butter. And I'm just going to use a couple nice size globs of it. This is something that you might have to or experiment with to see how much peanut butter you like to give it the taste that you're looking for. But I find these 2 big scoops are just about right for me. So now that I've got all those things in there, I will add the last container of cottage cheese. And I put that on top so that when I turn the processor on again, the cocoa powder doesn't fly everywhere. It stays put and blends in well. And by splitting it up like this, it also makes it a little easier on the food processor, because the first container of cheese has already been blended down to something that's fairly smooth and easy to work with. Okay, and I just put the top back on and give it another spin here. Okay, I scrape down the sides with a small spatula just to mix up whatever might have stuck to the sides here. Put it in and I'll give it another spin right after this. You can also test it at this point just to see if the sweetness is right. Tastes pretty good to me. Okay, I'm going to give it another small spin here. Okay, once that's well blended, I have a few containers here that I find are just about the right size for me for a dessert, so I just fill them up. So after this, I just put it in the freezer for 5 or 6 hours and it gets to be solid. And on a night when I expect to eat it, I just put it down in the refrigerator for several hours before I'm going to eat it, because it gets rock hard. It's not like commercial bought ice cream that stays soft because they've used all kinds of additives in it to keep it from getting to be a solid block. So this does come out sort of as a solid block of ice, but if you, like I said, if you put it in the refrigerator for a couple hours, it gets a really nice consistency. And
this is Carnivore ice cream in its frozen state. We just pulled this out of the freezer.
this is Carnivore ice cream after it's been in the refrigerator for a couple hours. It still has some of the lines that it had from when it was frozen, but you'll see it is fairly soft and a nice texture.